Guys, welcome to the Entrepreneur on Campus podcast. Thank you for coming here to listen and to learn. Quick thought before we get started. Many things have changed with the transition of the old world to the digital world. One of those is vocabulary. You guys have probably heard high school kids in different locations using similar slang, and that's because they post their content online, and so they can hear what other people are saying. Similarly, the business world has picked up certain buzzwords. Some of the most common that I've heard are entrepreneur, experience, ping, disrupt, reach out, collaboration, transparency and authenticity, expert, hustle and grind, coach, a guru. These are all words that I feel like I've heard, and I'm sure you guys have as well. And through LinkedIn, YouTube, Google, and other platforms, these words are just becoming more and more commonplace. And as they are overused, the meaning of the words can change. For example, many traditional entrepreneurs or business owners, they don't identify as much with the word entrepreneur anymore. I also recently heard someone who does some private business coaching say that he loathes the term life coach because there's so many quote-unquote life coaches promoting themselves on the internet. There's lots of fake ones. I bring this up just to bring some awareness to it, because words are powerful, so let's be intentional with how we use all of these words. So there's a quick thought, and so I'll tell you a little bit about today's guest, Apple Crider. I'll tell you more during the actual interview, but I certainly came away from this interview inspired to do more for my life. Apple's really out there to make a mark on the world, and he's working his butt off to do so. So go check out his podcast, Young Smart Money, and listen in on this episode. Now, without further ado, here we go. This is the Entrepreneur on Campus podcast. Let's go. On each episode, we talk about a new industry or market, including the entrepreneurial opportunities, the pains, and the surprises of that industry. Listen, the business world is so broad, and we are here to dissect all of the different ways that entrepreneurs make money.
Software, you make it one time and sell it 1,000 times.
E-com spaces, man, those things sell for like an 8x multiple. It's ridiculous.
Three main ways that we make money, and the primary one is actually ad sales.
The goal is usually to exit within 3 to 7 years.
I'm your host, Matthew Brown, and I've created this podcast to help you discover hidden opportunities. Thank you for tuning in, and here is today's episode. All right, what is up, everybody? I'm so excited to be here. Another episode of Entrepreneur on Campus podcast. Today, I'm here with Apple Crider. What is up, my man?
I am doing well, Matthew. It's a pleasure to be here with you as a fellow student, man. I'm excited to talk it up.
Here we are, just two young guys, but we want to make a big difference in this world, right?
100%.
So first, I'd love to just read off a little bit about who you are. So you have a podcast called Young Smart Money, top 100 business podcast. Also, Apple is the co-founder of Podblade, which is a podcasting startup, and he's created a free podcasting mastermind with over 350 plus podcasters. So awesome. You've been involved with the podcast space for a while then, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I got started about 18 months ago is when I initially launched my podcast. And then it's been a bunch of twists and turns and ups and downs, but I've definitely learned a lot in the last 18 months that has allowed me to reach hundreds of thousands of people with that platform.
That's awesome. And are you doing like a weekly podcast? What is your podcast like?
So I started off doing, I think, about 2 a week, then transitioned to about 5 a week. Then for probably about 6 months, I was doing daily podcasts. And now we're down to every other day. Recently just moved to every other day because I just have a lot of other projects that I'm working on right now. And that's a whole other thing that I need to work on. But for now, we're doing every other day. So like 3-4 a week.
And are those like guest interviews, or are you doing like?
Yeah, so I was doing exclusively guest interviews for all the time that I was doing daily and stuff. So I've got about 200 interviews in the books at this point. But at this point in time, I'm doing about 2 to 3 guest interviews a week. And then I'm trying to do like 1 to 2 solo episodes as well, mostly talking about podcasting, but a little bit of like entrepreneurship, personal branding. The whole thing's tailored at young people who are interested in getting started in entrepreneurship. So I'm really just trying to tailor my message to most impact those ideal people.
I love that, man. Well, you're on a good platform right now, because this podcast that I have is specifically for college-aged, like aspiring entrepreneurs. So I love it.
100%, man. I mean, those are my people.
That's what I'm talking about. Dude, that's a lot of interviews. Are you just like reaching out to people constantly, trying to get people on and everything?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a whole process. But I initially, because my podcast started off as a solo podcast because I didn't know anyone. I was kind of just like, I got interviewed on my local radio station for some of the projects I was working on, like entrepreneurially. Because my college was like, this kid's doing some cool stuff. Let's like pull him on the radio. I was like, whoa, but okay. So I hopped on the radio, did that. And then I was like, man, I want to interview people. I want to like do more of this. And since I didn't have access to like a radio, like broadcasting, like station, I stumbled onto the world of podcasting. And before launching my podcast, I'd never actually listened to one before. So I didn't even know what the term meant until I started mine. So I stumbled into podcasting, but the problem was I didn't know anyone. So I didn't do any interviews because I didn't know anyone, and I didn't realize how easy it was to reach out to these guys. So I started off solo, but then I went to this event called FinCon in Orlando about a year ago. And that was really the first time that I went to an event. I actually got a scholarship to that event. So it was kind of like a no-brainer to go.
Nice.
But so I went to this event, met some people who were decently high up there. And so that was really my jumping off point that showed me how easy it was to connect with people. And then from there on out, it had been pretty much interviews all the way for the last 12 months.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I've kind of experienced the same thing. It's been pretty easy to. People are so willing to give back, and they love promoting themselves, and podcast is the perfect tool to do so because you can just talk about whatever subject, right?
Yeah, and dude, people's top 2 favorite things to talk about are themselves and their passions. So when you invite them to talk about those 2 things for 30, 45 minutes, an hour, that's just a no-brainer, to be honest. I'm always surprised, man, when the people in my group or myself, I reach out to these higher and higher people, and they're just like, yeah, sure, let's do it. and every time it's like, wow, I never thought it'd be that easy, but a lot of times it's just that easy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So are you doing this full time then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've got the podcast going on, and then we can talk more about this as well. But how I make money off of it, since I don't put ads on my show, since day one, I was pretty well set that I wasn't going to put ads on the show because I believe entrepreneurs solve problems, and I didn't see putting ads on my show as solving a problem for anyone except for myself. And that problem would be that I don't have enough money. So I would put ads on my show, and I would get money, and my listeners would get 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes of their time just flush down the toilet. So I was kind of like, that doesn't really make sense to me. So I'm gonna try to find a different way to solve the problem of me not having enough money. So I'm gonna try to provide a solution to do that instead of just throwing ads at people.
Yep. So what do you do? How do you make money?
Yeah, for sure. So great question. So what I do is I'll try to break this down pretty simply. So the way I see monetizing a podcast, you kind of have 2 options. You can either monetize on the front end or the back end. And when I talk about the front end, what I'm talking about is monetizing the relationship that you have with your listeners. So if you want to monetize on the front end, you're monetizing the relationship with your listeners. Examples of this include running ads on your show, doing affiliate marketing, selling stuff to your listeners, but just doing things to get your listeners to somehow give you or do or take actions that result in more money coming into your pocket. So that's front end. Back end monetization is monetizing the relationship with your guests. So if you have an interview show, you can shift the focus from monetizing your listeners to your guests, and that's what I have done. So if you're monetizing the guest relationship, really what I found to be most effective is doing some kind of service-based business. So providing some kind of service to your guests, because you're likely not going to be selling them products. I mean, it depends on what kind of niche you're in, but for the most part, you're not going to be selling them products. It doesn't really make sense. So what I do personally is I build funnels for the guests that I have on my show. So prior to going all in on my podcast, I had a marketing agency where I was running Facebook ads, doing some Instagram stuff, got a little bit into ClickFunnels. And when I decided I want to go all in on my podcast, I took those skills with me into the world of podcasting. And I was like, hey, I see some of my guests could benefit from this skill set that I have developed from a past business. So let's try sort of combining these two things. And at first it was a little bit slow, but as I started getting some clients on board, getting some testimonials, getting some sort of pieces in my portfolio that I could show people, it's kind of just snowballed from there. And now it's basically just word of mouth. And I'm still like telling my guests after I have them on the show about what I do. But yeah, basically, I have guests on the show. After the show, I let them know that my business is building funnels. So my big three are building the actual funnels themselves within ClickFunnels. So like landing pages, sales pages, copy, all that stuff, writing emails, and then running Facebook ads. So those are the three things that I focus on. And I'm pretty much exclusively promoting info products and masterminds. Those are like the two big things that I mostly focus on with people, because I noticed a lot of my guests were selling those things anyway. So I figured, why not specialize in that? So that's kind of what I've been doing for money in the past. And now I'm beginning to try to transition a little bit, or I am transitioning from a service-based business more into it's still kind of a service-based business, but it's something that's a lot more scalable, and something that I'm a lot more passionate about, because I mean, I enjoy marketing and I enjoy building funnels. Like, it's fun for me. It makes good money. But now I'm sort of thinking, what can I be doing more long-term? Because I never really wanted to build funnels for like 5-10 years. I mean, it's kind of just like a filler thing to build my skill set, to learn more, to make connections. But now I'm kind of making that move into what I want to be doing more longer term.
Cool. So yeah, let's go into that a little bit. But first, so just to dive a little bit deeper. So yeah. Basically, I come on your podcast. Do you look for a specific type of guest, or like?
So no, I don't, because one thing people kind of get confused on when I talk about my business model is they're like, oh, so you're just letting this person come onto your show for like an hour, 45 minutes, and just like pitch their business, and at the end you like sell them on something. And I'm like, no, that's not it at all. Like, the people that I have on my show, I very carefully select who I want to interview. I have this list of people that like I want to interview, and I interview the people that I want to interview, not the people who I think will that I could land as clients or anything. Cause I don't mention my business at all to them until after the interview itself. Like it's not, I'm not bringing them on to like pitch their business. That's not what I'm doing. I'm interviewing people that I'm genuinely interested in and that I feel could genuinely provide real value to my listeners, because I'm putting the listeners first on everything. Like that's the reason I don't run ads. That's the reason I don't sell things to my listeners. They're number one on everything. So that's basically what it looks like. And then, yeah, so after the interview, my script basically goes something like, hey,
give me an idea, like what kind of business are these people running? Like,
yeah, for sure. So
selling info products. So is that what space or what is that?
Yeah. So, I mean, my show primarily interviews online entrepreneurs. Sometimes we'll get some people in real estate. Sometimes we'll get some people in like door-to-door sales, but for the most part, it's online entrepreneurs. So a lot of them do have some kind of info product, whether that's a course, a mastermind, whatever. So that was what I had noticed, was really like the dominant factor. And since I already had a sort of a background in that, it just kind of made the most sense.
Gotcha. So after the interview, you'll go and you'll tell them, hey, I can build funnels for you. I can do emails. I can do Facebook. I think I can help your business grow, basically. Yeah,
exactly. And then the next day, I have a VA, virtual assistant. We can talk about virtual assistants a lot too, because I have virtual assistants doing everything for me, man. They're freaking lifesavers. Yeah. So the next day, what I have a virtual assistant do in this scenario is I have a virtual assistant send out an email to them that basically thanks them for coming on the podcast, all that jazz, tells them it'll be live in probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks. That's usually about my runtime, and sends them links to some of my best performing sales pages, landing pages, emails, all of that stuff. So they have my portfolio in that email that they can look over. It just reminds them what I do, and then gives them sort of action steps. I give them usually my phone number and just like tell them that if they want to do business, to just follow up with me there. So that's sort of my basic process. Gotcha. And do you have a team besides VAs? So yeah, my team is pretty much exclusively VAs. I have one dude who is also in the US. He's kind of like, he's more of a business partner, I guess I would say. I guess I have two business partners in the US, but yeah, the team is all overseas. And they all started off as VAs, but then eventually just like trained them on to more and more things. So now they're editing my podcast, they're publishing my podcast, they're writing titles, descriptions. Very nice. They're doing social media posts, they're doing everything.
So your fulfillment is basically you do the funnels, you said, is what you build.
Yeah. I do the funnels. I write the copy. So yeah, most of the marketing stuff is going to be me. And then the team basically just takes all of the podcasting legwork off my plate, any social media stuff. But yeah, most of the marketing deliverables are me.
Dude, that's awesome. So how have you enjoyed, like, has the podcasting like front end been a good sales channel for you to kind of build your clientele?
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, I mean, it's just so easy to connect with these like high level people. And once you know like what you want your sort of service that you're providing to be, you can easily just find people who need that service, who you're interested in hearing more about, and then just get them on your show. And then afterwards, just like tell them what you do. I mean, it's super basic, but like works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a great way. Like a podcast is such an effective way to build a relationship with someone and build rapport with someone very quickly, because like sitting down with someone and having an hour-long conversation through Zoom where it's not quite face-to-face, but you can see each other and you're like getting each other's nonverbals and whatnot. Like that's a really effective way to build a lot of rapport very quickly. So much more so than like hitting someone up in the DMs or anything like that, because no one's going to, or most people aren't going to sign a $5,000, a $7,000 deal with you just through a couple DMs. But I mean, once you sit down with someone for an hour, interview them on your podcast, it's not that far out of the question. I mean, that's how I've landed some of my biggest deals, is just like sitting down with someone on the podcast afterwards, letting them know what I do. They've gotten to know, like, and trust me throughout the interview. And then they're like, yeah, sure, let's talk about it. Let's do it. So, I mean, honestly, it just makes sense for the most part.
Dude, that's awesome. So let's say that one of my listeners, aspiring entrepreneur, they're like, I love this model. I want to go start a podcast and I would love to start a marketing agency through that.
Sure.
What would be the first 2 or 3 steps that you would say to take?
Yeah. So the first thing that's really important that a lot of people don't really think about, at least that I see getting started in podcasting, is they don't think about who they're trying to reach and what they're trying to tell that person. Because if you try to make a podcast that serves everyone, you're going to end up serving no one. I mean, we all have heard the quote, like, you try to serve everyone, you end up serving no one. It's very true in podcasting as well. Like, you need to have a very clear idea of who exactly you're trying to serve. Like Matthew, for example, knows that he's trying to reach entrepreneurially minded college students. Like, that is a very specific targeting. Okay. Like, that makes sense. So you need to come into this, like, really getting specific. And the thing that I like to do is I like to go 3 deep. So I like to say, I'm trying to reach people who are in college, who are who are males, who are interested in entrepreneurship. Like, that's 3 layers deep right there. And usually once you go 3 layers deep, then you're getting pretty close to a niche. But a lot of people will go like 1, 2 layers deep. They'll be like, well, I'm speaking to like entrepreneurs, or I'm speaking to like people. And it's like, dude, like, there's already so many podcasts. Like Gary Vee beat you to the punch, like Andy Frisella beat you to the punch. Like, they are talking to entrepreneurs. If you want to carve out a space for yourself, you have to carve out a space for yourself. Pick a niche, go deep, because those people that you're trying to speak to, that you're really targeting your messaging at, those people, you're going to really, really resonate with them. They're going to tell all of their friends who are also of that same sort of grouping about you, and you're really going to resonate with them. And then you can build off your platform from that initial group of really loyal, strong fans. That's the most effective way to start a podcast. So you really need to hone in on that. And as far as like the technical stuff, man, it's super simple. So I'm just going to knock that out of the way to kill people's excuses, because I think people get caught up in all this stupid stuff. And really, for recording your podcast, if you're doing digital interviews like Matthew and I are right now, you can get Zoom. It's free. It's like Skype, but there's a record button built in. Super simple. You literally just record the interview. It's amazing. Good to go. If you're doing in-person interviews, I'd use Audacity. It's free. And it's great. You literally press record and you're good to go. So those are your recording platforms. And then for distribution, I personally use Anchor. It's anchor.fm is the URL. It's free, puts you on like iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all the major podcast platforms for free. And that's how you distribute your podcast. So you record it, you can edit it if you want. Some people don't even edit it. They just literally like put the audio file out there, which is totally fine. If you want to edit it, Audacity works for editing too. But that's literally how to physically do the podcast. So once you have that, you're pretty much good to go. Yeah,
I love it. So basically, figure out your audience, figure out where you want to go with the podcast. Those are the technical things. And then as far as like building the business, do you have any tips with that? If you want to build a business like yours?
Straight up. I mean, we're
grow the podcast and then try to build the podcast up without a back end, and then once you have a good following, try to get that back end? Or do you want to start from the beginning?
No, I would start from the beginning because honestly, like with a business model like this where you're doing it on the back end, it does not matter how many listeners you have. Like you could have a podcast with 3 listeners, but you could still sign like $5,000, $10,000 deals with your guests. Like no problem. I mean, there's no connection there. So I would recommend just starting from the beginning. But what I've always done when I've gotten into a new sort of business industry, whatever, is I always work for free. I always work for free for at least like 1, 2, 3 clients, for free, 100% for free, just to establish, build a portfolio, get some testimonials. Because one of the biggest hurdles that you're going to have to get over with people is they're going to have to not only trust you, but trust that you can actually effectively deliver on what you're promising. Because a lot of people make big promises, but not a lot of people walk the walk. So you need to make sure that they that they believe you can actually deliver on the things that you're promising them. So the best way to do that is just to have examples of past clients. And dude, for funnels, it's great. Like you can just build funnel pages for businesses that don't exist, okay, to build out your portfolio. Like they don't need to be real businesses. You can just build out your portfolio, create some pages, create some sales copy, all this stuff. Like it doesn't have to be for anything real. So work for free for a business doesn't exist if you want. Work for free for like a business down the street if you want it. If you have a relative that has a business, like do some stuff for them for free. That's been the most effective thing for me. And yeah, I mean that's where I've always started.
I love that, man. That's great advice. Working for free for a little bit, build a portfolio, prove that you can actually do what you're saying you can do, and then you can sell that.
Exactly, man. Get some results first, and then you know that you can actually do the thing.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you're transitioning your business now. You want to go somewhere that's a little bit more scalable, something that you like to do more. So where kind of the game plan? Where do you want to go?
Yeah, so at the beginning you mentioned Podblade, and that's my project that I'm working on right now. And basically what Podblade is, like you said, it's a podcasting startup. And what our mission is it's to make podcasting more accessible to people. Because right now there's really, I mean, if you go to YouTube, if you go to like any blogs or anything, like there's some content out there related to podcasting, but it's honestly minimal. I mean, there's so much content out there on like scaling a blog, scaling a YouTube channel, but podcasting is kind of just left out. So we saw this sort of issue, and we're coming in to solve it. So like you said, we have that Facebook group with like 300, 400 people in it. And our main sort of our cornerstone offering right now is we have a team of people that edit podcasts extremely affordably. So we saw that there are all these podcast agencies that'll edit your episodes for like $60, $100 an episode. And we just saw that was completely outrageous for anyone trying to start a podcast, because like when you're just getting started, you probably don't have like thousands of dollars to like throw at your podcast. So we decided to come in and sort of offer a low cost solution to that, because we're like, well, if this is going to take people hours, like I was spending like 3 hours sometimes editing a single podcast episode. And that was just like a complete, like I had so many better things I could be doing with my time. Like if I was building a funnel for one of my clients, I could be making like $50, $100 an hour. Whereas I'm spending my time, I'm doing like a $10 an hour task by editing this podcast myself. So we saw that issue that people were having. And we basically just decided to provide a solution to that. So we have podcast editing for as low as like $20 an episode for people who are just getting started out. And that's what we're focused on scaling right now.
Called Podblade, you said?
Yeah, Podblade.
Yeah, cool. And is that for anybody?
Yeah, that's for anyone. We actually, so right now, we have this thing where we're offering a free audiogram. So I don't know if you're familiar with audiograms. I post them I have a VA post them on my Instagram from time to time, but they're basically like an Instagram post that has like that audio wave on it, that like has your audio from your podcast and like the audio wave that goes with it.
The still picture. Yeah,
exactly. Still, yep. And we're giving away those for free right now. So if anybody is interested in grabbing one of those, it's just podblade.com/free-audiogram. That's where you can head for one of those. If you want one, you just drop in the name of your podcast and your email, and then we send one of those over. Our team does in the next like 24 hours.
Dude, that's awesome. I'll make sure and attach that in the show notes for sure.
Sweet.
So how old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20. Are you in college right now, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I got one semester left at UW-Madison in Wisconsin.
Okay, so you're planning on graduating pretty soon.
Yeah. I took a lot of credits in high school, so I'm getting through 4-year in about 2.5 years.
Dang, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What did you say? What are you graduating in?
Major-wise?
Yeah, major-wise.
Yeah, personal finance.
Personal finance. Okay.
That's like my secondary passion. So like podcasting is like my number one, but like on the side, I'm like a geek for like investing, building credit. Like that's I can talk about that all day.
Gotcha. Where to put your money and everything.
Yep.
Okay. And do you feel like college has been something that's been useful for you?
Yeah, the first year, my first year of college, I really didn't take advantage of it as much as I should have. I was kind of just there with the mindset of like, I don't want to be here. Why am I here? This is stupid. I'm not learning anything valuable. And that was totally on me. Like I just came in with the wrong mindset. And I really, I really like looking back, it was just stupid. Cause I didn't realize you could major in something that you actually like doing. I don't know. I just like got there and I was like, well, I guess I got to pick a major. I'm just going to pick computer science because that's what my dad does. And he seems like he's having an all right life. So I guess I'll do that. And it was stupid because I hated it. And I tried to do it for a year. And then I was like, this is stupid. Why don't I pick something I actually like doing? So then I switched my major to personal finance. And I was like, whoa, like this is so much better. Like I actually like going to class now. So, that was a big shift for me, but then also a big shift for me that happened probably like second semester of my second year. So like last semester, I realized that one of the biggest things that I wanted to get out of my college experience was I wanted to build the sort of soft skills that I had the opportunity to build in college, because I want to be able to communicate with people who are not just like hyper focused entrepreneurs that are like doing their thing. And I realized that was where I was at, because I was working literally all the time. I would sometimes go to class, and when I wasn't in class, I would just be working on my business. Like that's all I would do. And so I had no ability to connect with people at all. Like I was so one-dimensional, and I was fine with that until I took a step back and I was like, well, my goal is not to become a billionaire. My goal is to be able to like impact people's lives in a real way. Like I want to be able to speak to young people and like impact them and resonate with them and help them out. So I realized that my actions were not mapping to that goal, and I needed to make a pivot. So at that point, I kind of realized, I was like, wow, well, I only have about a year left in school. So I think I really want to take advantage of this time, because when else am I going to be surrounded by so many people from so many different walks of life that are all my age, that are all in such different places that I could communicate with, that I could learn from, that I could just like listen to them. So that's been the biggest thing that I really want to get out of school right now in my last semester, is just those soft skills that come with being around people from so many different walks of life, with so many different experiences, that I really want to take advantage of that, because I go to school with like 30,000 people. So like there's so many people there that I could just get to know and get to listen to. So that's really my main focus right now.
Dude, I love that. I think that it's so valuable to really, even if the business takes a little toll for a little while, those skills that long-term, they're going to, like the relationships that you build, the ability to connect, like you were saying, not just with the hyper-focused entrepreneurs, but being able to connect with people of all different fields, the humanities majors, like all the different people, and both in school and out of school, right? So that's awesome. I love it. So you've started a business or multiple businesses in college. What is your advice to aspiring entrepreneurs? Do they start a business in college, or do they wait till after?
I just don't really see a reason to wait till after, to be honest, because I mean, for me, school has always come very easily. I haven't had to try extremely hard to get good grades. Starting from like elementary school, like I could just, I'm good at jumping through the hoops that the teachers want me to quickly. And then I just have a lot of time left to do my own thing. So for me, I haven't really had to make that choice. I know for some people it's harder, but to be honest, man, I think that a lot of people just aren't very good at school. And I think the biggest thing for getting better at school, getting more time, and starting a business, man, it's focus, man. People suck, and I suck too, but like people suck at focusing on things, man. And it's all because it's not all because, but it's a lot to do with this guy right here, my smartphone. That thing is just, man, it shreds your attention span. It really, really does. And you have to make a very conscious effort if you want to pay attention to things, focus on things, and that effort it's going to pay you some hefty dividends if you really, really invest into it. So my thing is like, if you can really develop your focus, like you can get so much more done and you can move so much faster. Because like when I am in class, like, dude, I do virtually no studying, because when I'm in class, I am 100% there. I'm listening to every word they're saying. Usually I don't even take notes because I'm just so focused on like what the person is saying. Like I don't even want to like divert my attention into like writing stuff down, because I'm just so intently focused. And that's allowed me to save so much time, because I don't have to spend so much time studying, because in class, I wasn't surfing on Facebook. I was listening to what the person was saying. Okay. I wasn't like playing a game on my phone. I was so clearly listening to them that like when the test comes, I can spit back out exactly what they said to me, because it is right up here, because I've fully absorbed it. And I know for some people that's harder, but man, if you make a conscious effort to really just like be present in class, like that is such a game changer, because like so few people actually do that. And it just makes things so much easier. It frees up so much time, because like I don't have to spend hours each week studying, because I listen to what they said. And caveat here, like if you're in a STEM major, if you're in engineering, it's probably not going to be that easy. If you're like a biochemist, there's probably going to be some stuff that you do have to like really like sit down and like learn yourself. But if you're in like a humanities, if you're in like a business, like a lot of times, man, you don't have to spend that much outside time doing stuff if you actually give the professor your attention during the class, you know?
Yeah. And the truth is, even if you don't spend that much time on your phone, it's just the notifications. Like you'll be
turn those off now.
Notification, you'll see something and you'll be like, oh crap. And then you'll get back to it. But then there's like a stop and a start, and it kind of takes some momentum to build up.
Switching costs, man.
Yeah. So I love it.
I would guys, quick tangent, man. Turn off all of your notifications right now. I don't have notifications for text. I don't have notifications for Instagram. I don't have notifications for anything, man. If you call me, sometimes it'll ring. Usually I'm on Do Not Disturb, so you won't even get through. So like you guys gotta like take control of these things, because like you can let your phone run your life, or you can like take charge and be like, my attention, my focus is more important than like somebody leaving a comment on my Instagram photo and me seeing it right now. Well said. Yeah, I mean, you just gotta. Perspective is really important too, and I think a lot of people just don't have they haven't really taken the time to think about what's actually important to them, and give themselves that perspective. So I think it's just really important to reflect on these things and to eliminate distractions, because man, it doesn't matter, man. If somebody likes your Instagram photo, like you can see that in like an hour when you check Instagram. It's not that big of a deal.
Right. Absolutely. And plus, if people really want to contact you, they're going to keep going, right? They're going to send multiple messages. It's like if you don't respond right away, they'll send another one. And
like, dude, I've never missed an emergency. Like if there's a real emergency, like they'll find a way to contact you. Okay. If it's a crazy emergency, like they will find a way, but like you do not need your Instagram, your Twitter, your Facebook, all these notifications on. It's just, it's not going to help you.
Right. Hey man, so we'll finish up with the last 3 questions. So, are there any business ideas that you have that you're not going to pursue that you'd be willing to share with the guests?
Let's see. There's been a couple that I've just kind of had to leave by the wayside over the last like year or two. One of which that could be pretty profitable for someone if you are good at networking is starting a podcast guest agency. Basically, what that entails is like you find people who want to get on podcasts. And what you do is then you find podcasts that want people, and you basically make that connection. So you charge the person whatever, $500, you get them on a podcast, you get $500 just by making that connection. You find somebody else, they pay you $500, you get them on that same podcast. And it's a pretty easy business model. The difficult part is like finding the people who actually want to get on the podcast. Yep. But there's so many podcasts out there that want people that like that part is just simple.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that. What's your favorite business book?
Favorite business book. Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first sort of business book I ever read. So that one had a big impact on me. Yeah. Let's see. I guess that one was pretty impactful. I also like Good to Great. That was pretty good too.
Love it. And then last question is, do you have a morning routine? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, I definitely do. It's pretty religious at this point. So I'll wake up every day at 5. I will eat breakfast from 5 to 5:30. I'll go to the gym from 5:30 to 7, and then I'm working at 7. So pretty much exact same thing. Well, I left out the cold shower. So probably I'll get home at like 6:50ish. I'll hop in the cold shower real quick and then I'll be working by 7.
Is that because of Wim Hof? Is that why you do that?
No, I actually, I didn't even know. I like heard the name before, but my cousin just told me who that dude was like a week ago. So I didn't know who he was. I still got to look into him. I haven't really like researched him pretty deep, but I think I got it from Tim Ferriss, to be honest. I heard him talk about it like a while ago, but I've been doing that for about a year now.
Gotcha, man. And how has that morning routine affected your life?
Man, it just like, if I don't get moving early in the morning, my whole day just feels off. Like I just don't feel as like focused. I got brain fog. I just like, I'm not feeling myself. So like, I got to get moving early in the morning. So sometimes like if I'm out and about, like I've been traveling a lot lately. I think the last 6 weeks I spent like 4 of them traveling. So I always bring a jump rope with me so that I can like get some workout in like wherever I am. But yeah, I stick to that as much as possible. So like I'll have to adapt things. Like, yeah, if I can't go to the gym, I'll bring a jump rope. If I can't wake up at 5, I always need I need at least 7 hours of sleep to like actually function. So I make sure to adapt that. So like 2 nights ago or whatever, I was out till like 2 a.m. So I slept until like 9. So it's like I'll adapt it, but for the most part, like at least 6 days out of the week, I'm sticking to that exact routine.
Dude, I love it. That's awesome. Hey, well, thank you so much for coming on Apple. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure, Matthew. Thank you so much.
Okay, peace. Thank you guys again for listening. I love you. Have a good one.